the pastor says, turn to the person closest to you and tell the person I love you. It's
funny enough, it's not that it gets to me, but I feel someone is telling me to tell, so it doesn't feel genuine
it's not the same as you.
And
you
especially when it's someone you don't even have you don't have any idea who the person is, and you just turn and it's some weird. It's weird. I wish actually the pastors would stop that instruction.
Yeah. The youth seated at one place.
Yes.
And you're having a crash on, say, Amma or something. Then you go and sit by Amma because you know the pastor is saying, yeah, so when you say it passionately, I love you.
This is what the Deborah Court is asking who you love. But I'm sure it's going to be a promising weekend. A weekend in Russia. Accra will be full of excitement. When is the ban being lifted?
Today.
Tonight. Oh,
yes.
my God.
Tonight. So,
what a weekend.
So Friday will be nice.
Muslims are celebrating as well.
But unfortunately, Doomsaw, we're told, is coming back. We've had a lot of reports from around the country. People are complaining about the fact that their lights are going off.
Yesterday, I will complain.
Your light went
my
off.
light went off, and when I called ECG, I was told it went across pretty much a wide range of Accra and Ashanti region, and we're working to restore it. So around 11, that's when my lights were restored.
And Charlie, I'm a Muslim guy. Charlie, you guys are very well. I mean, 30 days. Is it wrapping up today or tomorrow?
Yes, today.
I'm fasting today with them. You know, I started on Tuesday. I told you.
So that you break with them.
Yeah, so that we can all celebrate together.
But on that note, let me wish my grandmother in Kumasi,
She's fasted for 20
Yes, she's fasted, and the family as well. All my cousins, my aunties who are Muslims. May God richly be with you and bless you. May Allah. I mean, you've put your stomachs down for 30 days. I'm sure He certainly will reward you for that. And George just came in.
Mrs. Estelle Okine, as your birthday.
And also, I have a friend, Caleb Nathaniel Wood. Wishing you all the best in life. May you age with grace. I love you.
He didn't fast.
You mean he should marry Grace and
he should age with grace?
No, I don't understand it.
Age with grace.
Find a woman called Grace, marry.
I never said that.
Our Muslim brothers, please wrap up the day in grace. Look, there's a story where in the monkey land, if you committed an offense, you were jailed 100 years. So this young monkey committed an offense. Committed an offense and was jailed 100 years after having spent 99 years. That monkey said it was so tired it couldn't sit in that jail, and so it broke jail. It was rearrested and given another 100 years.
Are you kidding me? In the world of monkeys.
So our Muslim brothers, wrap up the day in green star. Don't do anything that will negate everything you have done. Stay focused, wrap up. And then we'll be with you tomorrow during the celebration. We won't miss it at all.
Sure, of course.
George.
Okay. Good morning, I'm Josh Quinnin, and coming up in the next 20 minutes. News is up next, actually. It's time for news. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 279. And coming up, banks directed to release former GFA president Kwesi Nyantakyi's banking details. And 54 MPs risk losing their seats after absenting themselves without written permission from the Speaker for more than 15 sitting days. And in business, government to reduce the number of agencies engaged in inspection of containers at the port from 16 to 3. Thanks for saying now the news in details. On to our very first story. The Financial Intelligence Center has requested all banks and non-bank financial institutions in Ghana to provide it with the banking details of the Ghana Football Association and its former president, Kwesi Nyantakyi. The letter requested the information pursuant to Section 28 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act 2008 Act 749. And the letter signed by the FIC CEO, Kwekuduya, directed that the document should be sent in soft copy to the FIC CEO by today. The Financial Intelligence Center was established in accordance with Section 4 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act 2008 Act 749, as amended, as a body corporate with perpetual succession mandated by law to request, receive, analyze, interpret, and disseminate financial intelligence in Ghana and abroad. Its mission is to protect the Ghanaian economy from the scourge of money laundering and terrorist financing for the enhancement of national and global economic stability and growth. Nyantakyi and GFA have come under government scrutiny since the airing of an investigative documentary exposing alleged acts of corruption involving GFA officials. The embattled former GFA boss was seen and heard describing how to make money from a proposed sponsorship deal from a supposed investor. Nyantakyi is currently being investigated by the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service over a charge of defrauding by false pretense. The government, through the Attorney General, is in the process of dissolving the Ghana FA and securing a court order halting all GFA activities on Tuesday. And now to the floor of Parliament, where 54 members of Parliament risk vacating their seats even before the next parliamentary elections in 2020. The MPs, 34 of whom are ministers and deputy ministers of state, have breached Article 97(1)(c) of the 1992 Constitution, which states that members of Parliament shall vacate their seats if they absent themselves without written permission from the Speaker for 15 sitting days or more anytime Parliament is summoned to meet. And here's a report by Kobna Edujemfi.
Under the 7th Parliament, 71 out of the 275 members of Parliament have been appointed as either a minister or deputy minister of state. This is backed by a constitutional provision, Article 78, Clause 1, which states that ministers of state shall be appointed by the President with the prior approval of Parliament from among members of Parliament or persons qualified to be elected as members of Parliament, except that majority of ministers of state shall be appointed from among members of Parliament. Attendance record shows that, on average, MPs who double as ministers of state are 14 times more likely to be absent from Parliament without the written permission of the Speaker.
Some of these MP ministers claim to be on, official assignments. In their ministerial portfolios. So it makes it very difficult for them to concentrate on their work as MPs. Because, let's face it, the work of a minister is very demanding. The work of an MP is very demanding. Why can't we have a situation whereby an MP is allowed to focus on his legislative, representative, and oversight responsibilities? And then we have a minister that will also attend to the other sides of government business.
The report on the first session of the 7th Parliament indicates that overall, 54 MPs reached and crossed the 15 sitting absence without permission threshold. Probably it's because the Speaker of Parliament has not been exercising Article 97, Clause 1(c) of the 1992 Constitution, which states that a member of Parliament shall vacate their seat in Parliament if they absent themselves without any written permission of the Speaker for 15 sitting days or more anytime Parliament has summoned to meet.
Over 100 MPs violated, but they did not cross the constitutional threshold. So they are not included here. So we are only looking at the 54 MPs who violated the Constitution. And then when we calculated the number of sittings that they were absent from, it was 2,962 sittings.
Only 3 out of the 275 have perfect attendance record. It was revealed each of these MPs take 500 cedis per sitting, making 11,000 Ghana cedis basic monthly salary.
And still in Parliament, Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu says his side will seek legal redress if the National Identification Authority would deny majority of Ghanaians the right to obtain the Ghana card. The group continued with their boycott of the registration for the Ghana card.
in Ghana, we all know, and we all know that today, as I speak to you, only 2 million Ghanaians have passports, and only 7 million Ghanaians have birth certificates. It means that only 7 million are being considered for this exercise, having listened to the Chief Executive of the National Identification Authority, where he indicated strongly that only the passport and the birth certificate will be required for purpose of registration. Of the strong belief that this exercise must be all inclusive. Therefore, our boycott is to ensure that there is no denial, I repeat, there is no denial of legitimate Ghanaian citizens having their due to be part of a national identification system. We find the reference document of only the passport and the birth certificate inadequate and insufficient.
He explains, despite Parliament passing the law, they have the right to disagree.
A matter of seeking legal clarification on the status of the voter ID card as reference, we will question that in the Supreme Court of Ghana on the basis of their earlier rulings and position on the matter.
You're still watching news here on Newday. We are live on DSTV channel 279. The Minister of Health, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, says a committee has been set to investigate the death of the 70-year-old man who was refused medical care at 7 hospitals here in Accra. He also gave reasons why some health facilities are yet to open to the public.
In the meantime, we have set up a committee that is going around, looking at information, doing investigations for us to see what actually happened and what things that we shouldn't have done happened, and let us identify those who did that. Kolebu has set up a committee to investigate. Rage has set up a committee to investigate. I've sent a good group from the ministry to go to the bereaved family, and they've given us a chronology of what that happened that night to the man. But when you hear from one side, we need to hear from the other side too, and we are doing things about it. Soon we will come out with, how do I call it, a comprehensive report on the matter. Other health facilities, the Franco one, for example, and others that we have come across, they were not handed over to Ministry of Health or Ghana Health Service. They were done as a component of the rules that they were doing. When they finished, nobody knows what happened. They were left there for 8 good years, nobody asked any question, right? Now we are working, trying to find some money to put in equipment and human beings to work on them. This was brought to our notice just about last 2 or 3 weeks. So Ministry of Roads or whoever put up the facilities never even informed the ministry or, how do I call it, Ghana Health Service. So it's like we're in the dark. And that is why interagency or ministerial collaboration is always very, very necessary. And from our engagement with the Ministry of Roads, I think the contractor even didn't hand over those facilities to the Ministry of Roads as well. And that is why they have been there for how long now? They didn't finish last 2 years. So we are working on that as well. We need equipment, we need to do some refurbishment to the buildings, we need to staff the place. These are 3 major things that we have to put there before we can start getting hospitals done. Some of them even haven't got, how do I call it, what it takes, like water and electricity connected yet. So we are working towards looking for a good budget to complete those things.
Away from the health sector, let's shift to the presidency, where President Akufo-Addo has appealed to some 40 chief executive officers to support his efforts aimed at ensuring that Ghana achieves all 17 sustainable development goals by 2030. Addressing a breakfast meeting at the Jubilee House, the president urged them to prioritize the SDGs in their various outfits.
The meeting was also to solicit ideas from the CEOs on how to collaborate with the private sector to achieve the SDGs. Special advisor to the president on the SDGs, Dr. Eugene Owusu, said government focus is to firmly wedge on the pulse of innovation across communities and intentionally collaborate with strategic partners such as private sector CEOs.
The SDGs are not merely desirable, they are indispensable. And as a country, we really have to do our utmost to make it happen. This is so important. The SDGs are so important to bring prosperity to this country, and particularly to bring dignity to millions of our citizens.
President Akufo-Addo observed CEOs in today's world are the primary promoters of social and economic transformation and challenged them to participate in the implementation of the SDGs.
The market economy is the most efficient and most productive system of allocating economic and social resources in any given country. So across the globe, there's a recognition that the more robust, the more efficient the market economy in a given country is, the more likely that country is to go down the path of prosperity.
The president said he takes achieving of the SDGs very seriously as it has a direct bearing on the country's development as well as that of Africa.
Many of your organizations already have corporate social responsibility programs, but they're in an atomistic way. They're being done by everybody on their own. If we could find a way of bringing them into a coherent path so that what is being done in a complementary manner, in itself, it provides a very big impetus for your intervention in how we can get the goals working.
The 17 Sustainable Development Goals, with 169 targets, balance the economic, social, and ecological dimensions of sustainable development and place the fight against poverty on the same agenda.
Still staying with the executive, government will from next month reduce the number of agencies engaged in the inspection of containers at the port from 16 to 3. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who made this known, said the reduction would check corruption at the ports.
The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, was saddened about the recent happenings at the port after the rolling out of the paperless port project in September last year. Government intends to review port operations further to mobilize more revenue.
You have 16 institutions doing a joint inspection and one doesn't show up, the inspection doesn't get completed. And you can imagine that is not normal, that usually one or two are not there on time, and it delays the process. But we've streamlined it, and so from July 1, you have a country coming down from 16 to 3, and that means we will get a lot better.
Despite the implementation of the paperless port, compliance with processing of documents have been relatively slow, affecting revenue generation. This, the Vice President attributed to some custom officers who have deliberately decided to dupe the state.
Though you should not demand from any imported documents for stamping or any other purpose during this clearance process, except, as I said, for the waybill and the bill of lading. All the relevant documents under the paperless system are online. So just look at your tablet and you'll find the documentation you're looking for. Of course, this request for paper is really a ruse for corruption.
He spoke about another initiative to set up a task force to monitor operations at the port.
Technology is one thing, but implementation is another. And it's human beings who implement, and we have to keep an eye and keep reviewing the process to make it more and more. And so we want to be able to get to a place where 100% or close to 99% of our containers are being cleared within a day.
48% of containers are cleared within 24 hours since the implementation of the paperless port project.
You can engage us on stories aired so far on our social media platforms. On Facebook is News on TV3 and on Twitter is News TV3. The Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative is advocating decriminalization of petty offences. In a research conducted by the civil society organization, 70% of respondents said offences such as prostitution, petty stealing and unlawful entry should be decriminalized. Here's a report by Godfrey Tanam.
Respondents had different opinions on which crime were to be decriminalized and why. A number of respondents were of the opinion that some of the offences in the Criminal Offences Act should be decriminalized. A number of respondents were of the opinion that some of the offences in the Criminal Offences Act should be decriminalized. 30 crime suspects drawn from police stations in Accra were interviewed, of which 70% indicated that petty offences should be decriminalized. The offences include unlawful assembly, prostitution, insulting the national flag, being within some premises for unlawful purpose, and loitering. Lecturer at the Gimpa Law School, Edmund Foley, explained what the research seeks to achieve.
We hope that perhaps the Attorney General's office would kickstart the process of amending the Criminal Offences Act. That was the major one. Others, like the Domestic Violence Act and the Children's Act, would come later. I know for a fact, because I work on children's issues, that there is a move to amend the Children's Act.
Head of Africa Office of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, Mina Mensah, said her outfit will continue to advocate the reformation in the country's criminal code.
It is for us to ensure that we pass the information onto the right people, and that is why there was this launch. If you realize, the various institutions, apart from Parliament, were here, and copies of the report were given to them. We will send copies of the report to Parliament as well.
Council of State member Sam Okujeto noted decriminalizing petty offences would reduce crime.
When you decriminalize petty offences, your crime rate actually goes down. Nobody is saying that don't punish them. You can always put society, you can also put things in place that can punish them.
The recommendations therefore made were for nuisance offences to be decriminalized and be made statutory offences which could be handled by local government institutions.
And that's it by way of news this morning here on Newday. My name is George Quinn. Thanks for watching. You can get more news updates on our website, 3news.com. Good morning.
Back Thursday it is here on TV3 Newday. Zinabra, what do you remember?
Those days when, particularly with when we used to play football, there was no football around. So you look for one of your old socks or go and pick daddy's old one. Look for some other clothes, pump them into it, and tie it, twist it and tie it, and then Charlie, you are there on the street.
There used to be foam ball, foam with a lot of sellotape or paper ball.
Exactly. And those of us who live in the villages, we used to make our own ball. We'll go to the farm, cut the rubber tree, take the liquid, come and dry it, and then we're able to roll it. And that's what we used to call a man ball.
Ah, a man ball.
Very interesting,
yes.
But
these days, the kids don't play. They are doing electronics and, so.
They are playing football on the screens.
Anyway, let's check out the portals. We'll start off with it up there. He says, well, the no bed syndrome. And he found a doctor and a nurse, turned away from obviously people in anguish and pain. Says no bed, and government hospital will maintain the utmost respect for human life. So
the man is bleeding.
Yes, the man is bleeding, but you see, the whole conversation, and maybe we'll start off the review. The whole conversation is, we have been told what the problem is.
Right.
Now, instead of finding a solution to the problem, we're busy making speeches, forming committees, threatening people, and all of that. Now, the problem is simple. There are no beds. Question, how do we get the beds? That's the urgent answer to our
how do we ensure the few that we have
are optimized?
Is used, yes.
And you see, most of the health officials I've spoken with spoke about three things. Infrastructure, they spoke about equipment, and they spoke about more staffing. So these are three problems that we have. So even if you go and buy the beds today, and you don't have the equipment, you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the staff, you're wasting your time. So we know what the problem is, but typical of us as Ghanaians, we will talk and talk and talk and make speeches, and people will take advantage.
Maybe from now on, we'll stop talking. We'll be watching football.
And Johnny, this is not the first time we've lost a life because of this no bed syndrome that people will try to tag. And rightly, as Johnny said, it's not the bed or the availability or the lack of a bed that causes the problems.
Right.
It's the fact that you don't have the infrastructure. For how long has Kolebu been in existence? And for how long have we not expanded the emergency room to accommodate more beds? If a patient comes in a critical condition, yes, people are saying, let's treat them in chairs, let's treat them in trolleys. But is it every critical case that you can afford to treat in a trolley or a chair? As a doctor, my code of ethics teaches me not to do any harm. So in as much as I'm eager to afford that person the best, care available within my setting, I must also ensure that I don't commit the crime of, making the person probably lose their life or worse off just because they're sitting in a chair. You've got situations where you ask relatives to sit in a chair and another relative has to come and support his head, because we know as the neck flexes, you're causing more problems. So the truth is, this goes beyond not having the bed. As a doctor, my responsibility is to make sure this person gets best health care. Is that what we have in the system? No. So let's move away from, tagging doctors, nurses. Yes, we may take the brand for majority of it, but beyond that. And someone rightly mentioned that even when University of Ghana, which now we're all making a big fuss about, is opened, they also will likely use up all their beds, and there's still going to be a no-bed syndrome. Yesterday, we saw statistics of how many doctors to a patient ratio we have, which is inadequate. We also saw the number of beds in these big tertiary facilities. And look at the number of cases we refer from, primary healthcare facilities to these tertiary facilities. For now, until the bed syndrome is cured, I'm also looking at strong referral systems where there's interconnectivity between all the hospitals. So if I want to ask a patient to go to Rich Hospital because Achimota Hospital does not have a bed, I'm sure that when he gets there, he's going to get a bed. Until then,
but you see, I've been asking the question. Korle Bu Teaching Hospital is a top-tier hospital. It gets a lot of referrals from all manner of places. So give and take, on the average, in a day, you could have like 100 people or more referred to Korle Bu. What is the state of Korle Bu's emergency department?
To accommodate all
less than 50 beds. Now, if in any serious country, if we know the population, 29.6, we know the number of referrals we could get, we strike an average or a median. The median doesn't even meet the beds there. Most of the beds there are transit beds. They are not emergency beds. Now, before a clinic transfers a case or refers a case to you, it means that it's gone beyond them. It's now become an emergency that you must first review, check out, ascertain the veracity of the issue before you grant the person that. So we have a lack of beds. That's one. Two, the willingness of those in authority to deal with the matter is problematic. Yesterday, I had a minister for health, and he said that most of the Amasaman hospital we're talking about, which has been left, there's another in Tamale or in the northern region, all of that.
Just Medina here, I think
Medina
has 100 beds.
Yes, they were part of, he says, a road project that was not properly handed over. So then my quick question was that all the other things within, the setup of government, which were handed over or which were not handed over, I'm sure they've been taken over anyway.
Of course, yeah.
How do you then make such a statement? I found it a very sorry statement to say that they were part of a road project and they have not been properly handed over. So if for 200 years...
As in what? The old owners are still occupying half of the facility?
No, as in the contractor who did it has not handed it over.
So let's call the contractor.
Beautiful. But you see, every contract that is given has a timeline, okay? And if he's going to put equipment there, it has a warranty period. So if the project has not been handed over for 200 years, it's not been handed over, we don't care. And we make the excuses. So the duty of our leadership, vision and leadership is very critical. Then we're talking about equipment and staffing. I maintain that, look, people have been trained with state resources and they are sitting at home doing what? Now, Amma, Senior Bright, if you go and learn something and you don't practice it, you become rusty.
Yeah, of course.
People have gone to sit for their licensure exam, they have gotten financial clearance, and they are home. They've been at home 2, 3, 4 years. When you bring them back onto the job, obviously they will struggle to find their feet. Then you are causing more debt. Now who caused them?
So you see, I spoke to a few people on one of my journeys, and they said that, look, we should also pay attention to making sure that the peripheries are well resourced.
Yes.
Korle Bu is sitting in Accra. I think there's one at Cape Coast, Takoradi, Kumasi, Tamale, anyways. Now, we don't have to bring everyone to Korle Bu.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? It means that the periphery should be resourced, the rural communities, the district hospitals. You go there, and it's an eyesore. Look, I visited the Nadoli Kalio District Hospital, and there is no NICU facility there. So they were losing babies. Okay, they were losing babies. Babies are born with complications, and they can't handle them. You ask the mothers to to refer them to WA to go and have them looked at. And they don't go. Transportation, they won't go. They take the baby home and the baby is dead. The assembly has struggled to find some money and they've just started a NICU project quickly. UNICEF is coming in to help furnish the facility. So we need to strengthen the peripheries, make sure that every district hospital has a standard of Kolebu so that I don't have to travel from Nadoli Kalio to Accra to come and have a simple surgery done. I don't have to move from, let's say, Wa East, Funsi to come to Accra. Now, when that happens, then it means that Kolebu receives some respite and the beds are reserved. And then we can move on. But when we neglect the peripheries and Accra, Kumasi, Tamale is also neglected, then we are in trouble.
You see, the problem, rightly, the problem that we have is because we try to centralize everything. In our centralization of everything, look, apart from the cardiothoracic center at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, if you go to Komfo-Anokye, what is the state of their cardiothoracic center? If you go to Efian Kwanta, what is the nature of it? So we try to centralize everything. That's what is killing us. Even the colonial masters decided that we can't have everything at one location. Now we say we are capable of managing our own affairs, and we are messing up everything. Look,
but you know, in this
on the reverse, finally, maybe on the reverse, what happened to preventative health practices? What happened to it? What happened to telling the people that, look, if you put your hot food in plastic, it will cause A, B, C, and D to your lungs, to your kidney, to your liver, and so do not do it. What happened to it? What happened to public health? I expect the public health department to do that. So that because you know you don't have the resources to be able to cater for these people, you prevent them from coming to the hospital by letting them live right. What happened to public health? Okay, what happened to it?
Let's start touching on some of the newspapers that have come in. We'll touch on Ghanaian Times. It says, tragedy, 11 die, 54 injured in horrific accident. Also, government sets up 5-member IMC to run Ghana football. Then government increases students' loan by 50%. And then finally, deal with reckless motor riders on Salah. Chief Imam tells the Ghana police. And I think that is very timely. Also, Daily Graphic says, 11 perish in Suhum bus crash. Anas reports Nyantechi to Attorney General and calls for investigations into his stewardship. The World Cup kicks off today. Russia plays Saudi Arabia. Then finally, Kofi Amwa is to head the football management body, and that will be taking effect today. So these are the stories on some of the newspapers.
Let's touch on,
but I think
the
Chief Imam's, caution to.
It's become an annual thing, calling on Muslim youth and other people who are not Muslim youth to take advantage of the celebration to misbehave and to break traffic offenses and all of that. I think that, and you see, somebody told me an observation that I thought was apt. During Lent, when the Orthodox churches are having a 40 days fast, there's a lot of seeming discipline in the society. During Ramadan, when the Muslims are having their fast, there's discipline all over. Right after that, I can guarantee from tonight on to tomorrow, the speakers will be up. It will be blasting all over the place. From tonight, you have the nightclubs, the pubs in residential areas. Tonight, you have the churches blasting their thing. And you wonder what suddenly happened to, the peace and calm we have enjoyed over the last month. So we have a problem, and we wait for occasions to rise before we start talking about the problem. It's a shame.
Jenny, we know we have a problem. Now, this is a chief imam who is appealing or asking the police to go and deal with these guys.
Do they go and deal with them?
Is the police ready?
That's the question.
Up the challenge?
Do they?
Now, when there is, for instance, the premiere of the Anas's video, we found the Accra Region Police on alert. And tomorrow, we know where these motorcycles riding at top speed, people hanging, we know where they are. Is the police ready to go? Or perhaps the police is scared that because of the huge numbers, they go there and they could be overpowered.
Right. Let me tell you. Let me disappoint you. The Anas expose first airing was on Wednesday. Okay, they had 4 showings. The next day, we didn't get a lot of security like it was. You know that the conference center glass right by the foyer was all broken down because there was no security to do checks and anything. It was all broken. So it was for just camera. The first day when we had the premiere, we knew that the ministers and the diplomatic corps and everybody was going to be there. There was heavy security. The next day, nothing. It's broken. State property destroyed. Who will pay for it?
But anyway, headlines are all bashing the fact that there have been crashes and accidents that have taken the lives of people, and that's what we're ranting about today. Are the stakeholders actually fighting this criminal activity, or actually the fact that we're perishing, people's lives are being lost in accidents? What are we doing about it? Is this just talk as usual, or are we actively working to curb this menace? Let's step out and see what you think.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
A very good morning and welcome to Daily Rant. This morning we are talking road accidents, and casualties from road accidents keep increasing, and 1,008 lives perished in 5 months, and this is a 10.5% increment compared to 2017. And so what are we not doing right as a country, because it keeps recurring but in larger proportions each and every year? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
I'm saying Osha said the accident na koso o my Ghana mo okwa manonia accident si, but omu make sure say accident na ACN no e de na dey ba na kwambe na ebe fa so a eto bitimetwa omutime try na afino ekọ na nimu na e reduce be Ghana ha say de ye ne try say e be ebe avoid ni mum no na e increase because intimi put proper measure bi event was what the cause a accident no eba. But this time no, we driver for now, driver and I'm free say most of them they are not matured because the ben now what is government transport STC any accident. But we other buses now because of we be face okoji loan and they are car no or pentamo to an car driver back on one and can be cook massy as we need spare driver. But you say how many kilometers and we travel from Accra to Kumasi?
Too much. Oshe ene accident ye see ya. Buses akese mienu. Eni pe over be say me how many car? Sa habe 25 krana. Eni pe be over be say 50 and now 60. And a bus ni mienu nyina mu. Na emu 11 ewu. On nti e be sere aban ne say onfa enoma abegu akwan ma the fish accident no to bit me ade. Etwa se be ba krana enye too much. Na wa hwe cars akese na ana cars no so asesi kwan mu no ana trucks akese no so a ka bi horma oyo overtaking kura na ommo de o ani mu no nkai mpo se oyo overtaking bo wan se o yafa ho na da koshia ka ba ko na pempran na akofa akwansia eno e de aba nti e be sere mpanyifo se omofa nneema ngu na kwan mu.
This very year, I say, nkofo abuse tramadol, but me close to us, ekache me say, oko baby to say la pasa. Yet only tramadol ne soft drink. Drivers need to me trippy. No more see, no to me, I work quite so by 16 hours. I own himself, who drink of from quite a ground, so my own tramadol, Eddie Tricka. Yes, if you more.
No crowd, said ye, na walk canano, a idea air cost stations. Nina no a like of a Crawford and Cassano or most station. I don't think say they are in charge. Yes, this is a crown. I did be about a Asla. Aslano. One year I'm said driver for new Mufa Asla on the say. Asla need dangerous than Sabia Sabi Mudiban movie. So we in the bedroom. No, come be so driver be a children we also then. Yes, you know, so not also the we ne a tramando no. Eguni city the so no teso enti accident is o dwane no na nkrofo no mu chase no no bi e ba back no mu say what a tramadol ne enti ade no de nam so wo hwe te say wa for no say o driver for from wa te say e bia sprinter ni bi ofiri Accra Kumasi a onye station car oko ni nyina no no pick passengers e wo kwa ho ono no woni eye junior obi a wo hye na se oni obi a adenwa de dey no o supervise na djuma oye enti trauma do wo kura bi a ono ana enom se bi o kura wi a ono ana enom na asra no the dangerous thing wo asra no se wo munu free se bi o wonya code anase kata otwe eye asla na that moment no
there's a brand bi no mu
ni brand bi o mu si so mu mu no otwe a na nani na ekoko na ono aka se body trim ubo trim no eye nema mi ensa na ebo wadwu wo aka se utrim na obo obodam de tosum yenu wonne wo ho
abetwi
nkrofo de tosum ensa enipa na worker ni mu no ebia ebi mu kura no ewo se bi chance by chance wonya utwika obu on ma ebia we lecturer obu on mo ebi o mo bank bi obi a teacher obi a doctor na wo sa se bi wakwo we ya wo de wasla no echi sa di pa no roto na ye gie no ye gi dia eden
se betimi aye CCTV camera epim de see kwan mu na okobe se
mo kwan mu nya papa na busa CCTV
o se first na ekwan no nye no na accident entancy na wotati bi na wotante hwe but any mum na ekwan mum eye na yesu sa ban ba ye kwan ma yo aban ba ye kwan ma ye no ena so na nipa no so no ewu mo ana accident so ekoso mo enti den na ekwan ya ye no ye betim de abo ekwan no ho ban ema enipa na ewu no so betimi ayede ati ma akwanhia bebrebe no eto etwa hwe last na me kokumase na mitu ha be se anadwo be 12 na kan ho yede kakra bus no fi kumase beduru ye na cause na kan ho yede ene bus sa agina society esan lodu ye e de Nyankopon adom me de nyame ase daba ntim de ye koye ekoduru kumase asomdwem so ni nyina so na enna so kan ho bi daba se bebre na ono ho no na because of said na
so anko be 3 trips onye ska bebre na wuza
minua from Accra to Kumasi no about best 5 hours journey na se walodu anajo be se 12 o'clock wabeduru hono anopa be se no nsia ana no nso uduru ye na ise se obetena se na wada na wa rest kakra no na wasa ko trust ya na chi so sika na ye pepe na fe dis sika no kwa ekọ obenya sika ni nyina na se ekina wa hwere won kwa sebe nyansa be na um anafa so be na wo so enti e be sere se ye nyina ya mo ye ho ban na ye passenger sifo no so ye do be so ye ka ho bi se daba no enkwa ana daba na tia so ana me kwakwaje me passport ana daba me kwa hasi na daba won se wo delay me time na daba no so de abufuo on no so ade americana dey ato aso na abu ho ansesa na ma nyina dey aba nti ebesere si nyina yakotena kan mu a ye nyina na na dan kwakofo do kan sem bi o si ye nyina ye moa na o man nye dey ebenye behwe adefo yakotena kan mu ene etu esika wo nti ye wo se e wo daba no so ye se ya tena kan mu anti na je se obo so tena kan mu ana wada nti de ekoso nyina na onye dey ohu me fro boase ni boase drivers say o mo ntanya accident because
who trust you there
o say
who trust you there
yes me trust him because so onya took free oboase no beduru Accra bia be say 3 days 4 days we okra 1 week asan wanya bia ye dey asanko so because ebasa na because the brain nyina no why dey abafom what you say
me who ni say stakeholders say NCC National Road Safety Commission MTTD omo dey hwambo he say bia last year bit man ka say accident 1000 you see nti be huni say bia nka next year no etu be there be ba form na ni wo ma bia twice
me the worker no ya adwen we say am no ka say bo anwumre 7 a ko gina eye Kofi Dubai ho fuku gina ho no my kwa na eco secretary nti police ni bi gina ho o gina ho from 7 up to ahomachi be 2 am edi enti no gina ho me dey arrange you so o G535 ti driver ti mi gina police ni na onu mumu no avoid the accident and say wo free rule no na yes o mumu na 535 nti no obi gina ne nche no oludu wa say so ankwa metu o wate free akọ no wa say that say no obo ken no obo a ne customer enti as a society no building say ebi ebe avoid certain things bia emboa omani mumu no and increase because those people no we in charge of doing all this no they are the crofo a initiative because you see am no ka say udru baby a ye road tona nipa na ono tito no ko ojiska no nim the reason why otim and what is we try ticket so I know the accident is here and the measures fumbe ne kurawa o fra ebia near police station na say baby amase bia omumra no mumehwe akra na nipa na uji ni you see anytime be abaji 1 city 2 city every obi anane wa apam
exactly
apam na anane wo no and say me no waji ni ska nye kwa no keke don't see me as me na mo kwa so ntin waji ni ska also hu say me life ewo nsem e dey measures no obutu after waji ni ska and na kura do mutimi take it to top of mutimi fa no asade e face ebia but that net so no so dey I want to this kind of near na ekoso ye kwanso no me dey be make road safety for ekahunu no mobo but easy to solve all this problem with the cameras SCC kwanso na say me mahunu say me call speed we are any kwasa me call na ya charge me a u say kira me ko bio driver for no so no ye sere wo mo kuta enipa nkwa obhwe se obi akobre enya sika no de abefuka na odi tu kwan akɔhwe na busuafo na o driver because of tramo uhwi ene wapete sika kra wakɔ no mutino wakɔ obi ma me ne papa ɔmo so no ɔmo hwɛ yi na saa no ma no nyina no atuntwa ne nyina mo boy ho na ɔman no enko na nim na bibia anya kama.
Okay, road accident is something we all detest, and it seems our effort in curbing the menace is not yielding any fruitful result. Let's know what you also think watching home. Log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook is News on TV3, and on Twitter is a News TV3. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your morning.
All right, welcome back. Now, you've seen some of the front pages. The Daily Graphic stays on the GFA issue. We have new faces there. Their photographs captured in the middle page. Kofi Amwa heads football management body. That's the story there. The World Cup kicks off today. Russia, Saudi Arabia, the first match. The Times talks about the tragedy. 11 died, 54 injured in horrific accident. That's the story. Students' loan increased by 50%. And then deal with reckless motor riders on Sanla. Chief Imam to the police. And the Business Finder this morning, policy rate to hit 14% in 2019. Ghana risks losing FDI over GMPC's $50 million loan to Ministry of Finance. And the Guide has this story, Tony Letha dams Oyeletha. That's a front page story. The Suhum crash is still here. 10 killed. Those are some of the papers this morning. This morning, my studio has been taken over by 3 vandals. First to my extreme left, vandal Dr. Ahmed Jinapor from the University of Education. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you are doing great.
Not bad.
And then vandal Dr. Clement Apak, MP for Busa South.
Chief
Chief vandal Dr. Clement Apak is also here. Member of Parliament for Busa South. And then finally, vandal Mesa. Japan Mesa, member for Secondary Constituency, also here. Good morning, gentlemen. And I'm sure your colleague vandals are watching.
Very well.
I don't know if we are still vandal. We are old vandal.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Old vandal.
Once a vandal,
always a vandal. Grateful. Yes. And thanks so much for joining us this morning. Let's start the conversation this morning. Up there in Russia is a World Cup starting today. We're told that the first match we see Russia play Saudi Arabia. Quick one on that, then we can move on. Dr. Jinapor, I mean, we missed out. We're seeing some revival, if we can put it that way. What lessons can we learn? What has happened in the past few days to Ghana football? What is happening in Russia? The fact that we are not there. What lessons can we take into perhaps the next decade?
Well, I think to start with, just yesterday there was a balloting for 2026.
Right.
And we are told Canada, USA, and Mexico jointly won, beating Morocco. And if you listen to the reportage, one of the things that comes out is that this is the first time that they've had such a transparent process, and this is what the result has yielded. And it tells you that when it comes to soccer generally, it's not only Ghana that we have problems. Even if FIFA, you're talking of just simple balloting, they are saying this is the first time. It means that there used to be a problem. So if you ask me what are the lessons that we take out of it, interestingly, I happened to be in Russia not too long ago. I was in Moscow for about 8 days, and I happened to have visited one or two of their stadia. I mean, they have 2 stadia in Moscow itself that they'll be playing. Beautiful city. I mean, extremely neat. The only challenge is the language. They refuse to speak English. They refuse to speak English. So what can Ghana take out of it? I mean, we've started the process. If you look at the daily graphic today, government has set up an interim management committee. And I've heard people speak about the committee. Of course, as human beings, some will like the composition, others would more or less have reservations towards it. But it's instructive to know that it's an interim management committee. And in fact, by virtue of the injunction that was granted to government, their mandate is probably just for 10 days. Right. Until government goes back to what? To ask for extension. So Ghanaians have to look at it that way. And when I say Ghanaians, you look at the front page of the Daily Graph, it says Dr. Kofi Amwa takes over from Nyantakyi. No, he's not taking over from Nyantakyi. Still remains the substantive GFA president. No,
he's not. He's resigned.
Oh, he's resigned. Oh, sorry about that. No. I mean, you're right. Yeah, he's resigned, but he hasn't taken over from him. I think people have to know that. But moving forward, right, as I said, look, as a country, we are a developing country. And in terms of development, it's not just about infrastructure, but in terms of our code of conduct, I mean, our ethics, I mean, corruption. I can tell you that, look, even though I can't say when you go to the justice system, there's no corruption, but people based on the announced expose are mindful. Today, even among ourselves, if a student comes to me as it used to be, he wants to give me 2 or 3 tubers of yam. Yeah. Oh yes, I mean, some of the judges were taking boots. I see. Some of the referees we are told. So it's unfortunate, but I think government will have to expedite action in coming out with prosecution, because if you remember, Kwesi Nyantakyi was reported to the CID on the 20th of May, and as it stands now, I don't know whether he's even been charged, and I find it quite unfortunate when, even after all the brouhaha and the noise that was being made, the CID, even after inviting all these people, including Nyantakyi, had to call unannounced to give them the video to look at. So if you have charged somebody and you haven't even seen the tape, on what basis were you charging somebody? So when Ghanaians tend to be cynical about what is going to come out when it comes to this issue, I think they have a legitimate concern based on the actions and inactions of the CID. So I want to see some kind of speed going on. I mean, the Attorney General is doing well in terms of getting this injunction and trying to shape the GFA, but it must move simultaneously with what? With prosecution, because the charges or the quote and unquote, the allegations that are being made against them are very grievous, and I want to see them in court by now.
All right, I'm grateful. Honorable Japan, so the World Cup is starting. You can tie that in with Ms. Amwa heading, Dr. Amwa heading an interim committee that we are supposed to see. Lessons for us as a country.
Well, I guess it's appropriate that I say good morning to my colleague panelists and our cherished viewers, particularly my constituents in 2nd D.
That's right.
And also to take this opportunity to wish our brothers in the Muslim fraternity happy Eid. We all know that we've ended the fasting. Today is their day of rest. Right. And tomorrow is a celebration of the Eid itself. So we use this opportunity to wish them well. That the fasting that they had, they would derive the blessings that they sought from Allah, so that prosperity may be their portion in the coming years. GFA, and it's important that I respond briefly to what Dr. Jenapo was saying. You see, yes, the police had to get the tapes from Anas because he had a source document. And so it was important that at the time that the president lodged the complaint and Kwesi Antechi was invited. They took his statement. Of course, they had to await the video to enable them proceed with further investigation. Otherwise, how were they going to proceed? Because allegations that were made were contained on the tape. So necessarily, they didn't have a choice than to wait for the tape. And I understand that they actually requested for the tapes. And they were told that, well, they could only get access to them after the premiering of the, the movie, if you like.
So is it legitimate to ask, based on what was he charged?
Of course, you can charge people provisionally.
Okay. So
based on
that person's statement.
Based on the complaint
from the
complainant lodges,
okay.
And the statement, the caution statement that is taken from the suspect, if you like. Based on that, you can charge the person provisionally, grant him bail, and then after you complete your investigations, you can either maintain the provisional charge or substitute it with what is appropriate under the circumstances. I mean, I was looking forward to going to Russia in this year's World Cup.
What happened?
Unfortunately, we missed out. Of course, if your country is not playing, there's not much motivation to want you to go. You know, we all as Ghanaians were saddened that we missed that. There was a glorious opportunity if we hadn't messed up in some of our initial matches, you know, to have qualified, you know. And so, yes, I expected the GFA to have started the process of rebuilding the team. Unfortunately, this incident came up that has led to resignation of some executives at GFA, and the government taking steps to dissolve it and culminating in the setting up of an interim body to manage football in the country. We all know that football is a passion of many Ghanaians. The fact that the legal process is ongoing cannot lead to a vacuum. And so I guess that is the reason why this body has been set up to, as it were, manage the process or the space until some conclusive and definitive resolution is had to the GFA crisis. And so I will urge the people of Ghana to support the interim team. We all know the status of GFA. It's essentially a private entity, save that because they manage the national teams on behalf of the state, government funding goes there to pay for that running of the national teams and all that. And I understand that even as we speak, they've been engaged in some friendlies, and so without a management, what is the fate of the players and the officials who have been sent out there to represent Ghana? So it's important that this step was taken to, as it were, seal whatever vacuum that may have been created with the resignation of the president of GFA and the steps leading to the resolution. Of course, that will be held within the court or the judicial system. Government has gone in for an interim injunction to stop the officials from engaging in any act or omissions that would lead to some problems for us going forward. And so in 10 days, I expect that our application will be repeated, served on the GFA, whatever is remained of them. Of course, I mean, it's an entity that exists, except that it's their executive that have been affected.
Right.
And so the body will have to respond to as to whether government should proceed with dissolving it or not. And the court will weigh both arguments and then make some definitive pronouncements on that. But then again, it's important that going forward, whatever has to be done to sanitize the space, build a solid team that will ensure that we go to Qatar 2022 is done. And I believe that that is what government intends to do.
Okay, I'm grateful. Dr. Park, so initial comments, lessons for what has happened to us and the fact that we missed out on Russia?
Well, Bright, it's been a while, and I think the last time I was on this program was the very week that this story broke, had taken shape, so to speak. But as we are politicians, I think it's also fair that I extend felicitations to the Muslim community in Butsa South, particularly the chief imam and his followers for the yeoman's job that they have performed on all of us. It is our hope that Allah has indeed accepted our prayers, and we will do our best to be with them, either in person or in spirit, as they celebrate the Eid tomorrow. Of course, I can't forget my good friend Aminu. I think that we are in a very interesting context. For some reason, it's as though the stars have connived to let what is happening happen at this time. I mean, what are the odds that we will be discussing the rot in the football fraternity in our country as a consequence of the Anat's expose at the time when the World Cup has taken off? There's a good reason for that. And I think that this is to allow us to do a detailed, sober reflection and do what is needed to sanitize a game that we all know we love so much, so that it can serve us well. So that when, we are giving our all in terms of our human and even financial resources in support of the game, we know somebody is not somewhere trying to use that leverage, which is indeed a privilege given to that person by the people of this country, whether it is a private entity or not, to do work on our behalf. So for me, I would want to agree with my two, the submissions made by my two colleagues. But what I want to add is to emphasize the need to move with speed. Yes, investigations can be quite laborious, and you would have to take your time to dot your I's and cross your T's. But when a matter of this nature comes to the public domain, where certain impressions are created, proven or not, and yet there seems to be some level of inertia in as far as the people's expectations are concerned about the formal aspects of looking into the issue, it creates another layer of a perceptional problem in terms of perhaps somebody wanting to delay the process because there is a need not to reveal certain details. So I would also want to urge the law enforcement agencies mandated to look into this matter, to do it in a way that would give Ghanaians the assurance that no stone is being left unturned in as far as getting to the bottom of this issue is concerned, and that indeed those who are culpable certainly face the full rigors of the law. It is unfortunate that we don't get to go to the World Cup. I mean, every Ghanaian boy, girl growing up, we always know what we do. How many of us have not engaged in one competition or the other? Some of us have broken limbs at secondary school playing football. Those of us who grew up in rural areas who didn't have access to the football, I remember we would take an old piece of sock from your dad, you stuff it with pieces of plastic just to create a ball to play. So the role of football... Socks ball. Yeah, socks ball, there you go. So the role of football in our society and the way we view it definitely requires that whatever is wrong with the game, we try to resolve it so that we can move on. But it's unfortunate that we are not in Russia. We can find another day to debate why we are not there, and if perhaps some of these revelations may have contributed to our absence in Russia. But we'll leave that for another day.
All right, I'm grateful. Let's move on. Let's move on and take a look at this one. The Times this morning, passport birth set for Ghana card inadequate. The minority says it is leaving no stone unturned in ensuring that the voter ID was considered a legitimate reference document in the ongoing national ID exercise. Now, in this vein, the minority hinted that it will seek interpretation of the Supreme Court in its earlier ruling in the Abu Ramadan versus Electoral Commission in the run-up to the 2016 election. Now, that's the story. If you go to the guide, page 6...
You're looking at Hanzad. You're looking at Hanzad.
I haven't finished.
You are going to seek an interpretation of the decision of the Supreme Court from the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
but is it unusual?
How is that?
Honorable Massa, just allow me. The Guide newspaper has the same story. Minority has to Supreme Court over NI. It has maintained its boycott of the process, and according to the court, they want a proper interpretation of what that ruling by the court means. Now, if you go to the Guide, page 15, there's a story that I want to draw your attention to. It talks about a group condemning Minority over Ghana Cat. The independent Zango communicators, I don't know whether the spelling is wrong, but that's the word Zango, have chided the Minority for their intended plan to boycott the national ID. According to the group, the minority's views on the matter are mediocre and juvenile, especially when we are dealing with imperative national issues. Okay, so that's the story. The key things here, the passport and the birth certificate. Now, Honorable Jipamesa, certainly you do not seem to agree with the minority. The issues about the use of the passport birth cert, the argument is that you will restrict people from getting onto the Ghana ID card.
That clearly cannot be true.
What is the truth?
The truth is contained in the law. And I have a copy of the act here. And with your kind permission, if I may read. This is the National Identity Register Amendment Act 2017. Act 950. Section 3 of this act amended Section 8 of the Parent Act. And it says, Section 8 of the principal enactment is amended A by the substitution for subsection 1 of 1. The authority shall require an individual who applies for an entry to be made in the register to submit any of the following identity documents. A birth certificate. B, a valid passport. C, a valid residence permit. D, a valid certificate of acquired citizenship. And E, any other information as may be required by the authority.
Right.
And no, please, it's important. And B, by the substitution of subsection 2 of, then it goes 2, where an applicant is unable to submit any of the documents specified under subsection 1, the authority shall require that the applicant A, or that a relative of the applicant, to identify the applicant on the oath. B, 2 persons determined by the board to identify an applicant on the oath where the applicant has no known relative.
Those 2 persons must be registered first.
It doesn't say in the law.
Okay. Yesterday, I got the NIA to say that those 2 persons must be registered.
I have read the legislation to you. Where in it does it say that those 2 persons must register?
But the authority,
because if that was the case, no, I don't have a problem. I'm reading the law.
Yes. Okay. All right. So go ahead.
I'm not speaking for anyone.
Okay.
We are interpreting the provisions of the law that was passed by the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, made up of members of both the majority and the minority.
It doesn't mean Parliament cannot get something wrong.
You see, unless of course you want to tell the people of Ghana that on the day,
it's not about telling anything.
On the day of the passage of this bill into law, when your own members, particularly Honorable Ama Kofi Boah, spoke extensively in his contribution to the report of the Committee of Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs.
At the committee level.
In the plenary, and I have a copy of the Hansard, okay, where he spoke extensively that the removal of these IDs has come in at an opportune time. It is giving us an opportunity to clean our registration system and identify people who were Ghanaians from non-Ghanaians, and that he comes from a border constituency, and he has seen many people come into Ghana from Ivory Coast. using our national health insurance card to access services in this country. And so the removal of the NHIS and the voters card and everything was opportune. Amakofibua.
I wasn't there.
Today, but does it matter? Does it matter whether you were or not?
And I'm going to have to verify the authenticity of it.
I have a copy of the Hansard.
I guess you need to direct anything you want to say to me. I'm the one talking to you.
It's unfortunate, okay? This country hasn't got time. We don't. Yet, our elected officers think they can play politics with everything.
People can't go to court if they feel so.
I haven't said that they can't go to court. Okay. But did you read their statement? Do you read it? They are going to seek to court, not to seek an interpretation of the Constitution. No, that's not what they're going to do. They're going to seek an interpretation of the ruling of the Supreme Court in the Abu Ramadan case. Under which jurisdiction?
So
under which jurisdiction?
So you think they're wrong?
They are only being mischievous. You see, consistent with their nature. When they take a decision in Parliament and their party executives whisper into their heads, like they did during the American security agreement, they agreed.
They didn't.
At the committee, unanimous. Now, when the committee report came out and their party executives heard, the next morning they rushed to Parliament, held a caucus meeting with them, and insisted that they change their position and say that it was a majority position. Great. So they went back and said, no, we've changed our position. It should be a majority. He said, well, count the numbers at the committee. You are in the majority. And we, the minority at the committee, agree with you.
Are you saying it's wrong to have a change of mind? I've heard.
I'm saying to you that they haven't. You see, I don't have a problem with any. I agreed.
So what is the point in this? That they agreed in Parliament and now they have changed their mind and you're worried about it?
Based on what?
And they have raised
and
the
I'm
issue
saying
that
the
vote, if you take out the voter ID card, you will disenfranchise people because that Ghana card, one of its mandate is to be used as a voter ID.
Did you listen to the provisions that I read from the amended act?
I did.
How does that disenfranchise anybody? In fact, even under the electoral commission process, if you do not have any of the identification that you are required to have to procure a voter's ID card, is it not a requirement that you can get two people to confirm your nationality and that when they do so and fill a form, you are given an opportunity to register? So what has changed? What has changed?
I see.
Such that today, they've turned around after Asiedun Ketia and Co. has spoken to them to change their position. And they are a party executive. I have said that your party executive.
You are telling me that
I sit in Parliament.
You don't know that.
And we know and observe the kinds of things that happen.
We have the right to decide what we do.
Right.
And we have the right to decide what we don't do.
Wasn't he there 2 days ago?
Are we
Was he not in Parliament 2 days ago? Was he not there?
If we analyze the situation and we see that something that has been done is not going to augur well for the well-being of the people, we have every reason.
We don't have time to reverse. To be wasting.
So it is our right. We are exercising our right. Exercise yours.
You'll be fair to Mr. Sidhu.
I'm asking
you. You want to say that you were there.
I'm saying to you that the very day that they
make your
came
point.
You were there when he told
you.
You were there.
You were there. You saw him come to us at the caucus meeting. Please.
Didn't he hold a caucus meeting with you on the morning of the US Security Committee report?
Please
speak about matters you know, not matters you don't know.
Please, you wrap up for me. Go ahead. Since you were
don't go into the realm of conjecture.
Wrap up for me. Let me get Dr.
You see, it's unfortunate that we all, as a collective, take decisions, and then when, for whatever reason best known to them, they claim to be patriotic citizens of this country.
So because we are
building,
that makes us unpatriotic now.
Park,
we are building.
When he uses language like that,
let him land. Okay,
it's not fair
to you.
We are building a database of Ghanaians. Parliament sat, deliberated on the bill that had been submitted, which was in part to satisfy the Supreme Court decision in the Abu Ramadan case. Memorandum to the bill. Unfortunately, yesterday I had a copy of the bill with me, but I left it in the office before I left. I would have brought it here for everyone to read and see. The rationale was contained in the bill. Okay. It went to committee. No, Brett, it's important.
No, it is, but I don't have a lot of time.
I know, but
let me get Dr. Patrick.
This is the only subject we have to discuss.
Yes.
Let's deal with it.
Yes.
No, let me finish. I'll just give me a minute and then I'll wrap up.
Quickly, please, quickly.
You see, it goes to committee. Members of both sides deliberate on the bill, find the need to recommend to Parliament to pass it under a certificate of urgency. It comes to the floor. We all debate it. Your members made significant contribution to the debate. We go through the process of passing the bill under a certificate of urgency. And then in November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, you now realize that what?
It is wrong.
Come on.
Okay.
Please.
So his argument is that once the House...
I'm not going to dwell on his argument. I am going to proffer mine.
Why did you change your mind?
I'm not going to dwell on his argument. I'm going to proffer mine.
He's asking.
First of all, the argument he's making is not tenable. We have the right to analyze even laws that we ourselves have passed. And it is not new. It's not going to be the first time.
Table and amendment.
It's not going to be the last time.
Table and amendment.
And if we find that...
You know the rules.
If we find that there is a flaw
Table
or
and
there is a
amendment.
condition that is going to work against the well-being of Ghanaians, there is nothing in this world that prevents us from raising those issues and calling attention to that. So the mere fact that we were there, we participated, and it was passed, does not take away our right to query and question something that we ourselves have done. He's a lawyer, he knows.
Could you have raised his query
even within the context of the judiciary of this country?
Could you have raised his query right from the
reviews? He knows that. Reviews are applied for.
This query right from the onset.
Right. I am not going to go into what could have been done.
We
are dealing with what is going on now. Our analysis has shown very clearly that if we were to strictly go by what he read out in terms of using the birth certificate and the passport as the primary forms of identity for registering to get a Ghana card, a bulk of the population definitely is going to be sidelined. So our argument is that these two pieces alone are insufficient in as far as a process of this nature that we believe should be inclusive is concerned. And in any case, if the voter's ID card is what it is, on the basis of which his party today is the governing party, what is the problem with us drawing attention to the fact that this should be included? We haven't said that anything should be taken out. We are saying that only about 2 million Ghanaians have access to passports. Just about another, I think, 7 million or so have access to birth certificates. What of the rest of them? And you are thinking that Ghanaians in this part of the world, in where I come from, have the capacity to be able to get a commissioner of oath?
They have families.
To swear them in? What of those who are orphans, who have no families, who have no relatives? Why do you want to burden them? What is wrong? What is wrong with allowing the voter's ID? What is wrong with allowing? What is your problem with the voter's ID?
I don't get it. Why you're wasting everybody's time?
We are not wasting your time. That is what you think. That is what you think.
Please allow him.
You don't decide how we use our time. You are not any more Ghanaian than any of us. You are not any more Ghanaian than those who will not have access to a birth certificate, who will not have access to a passport, who don't have relatives, who lives in parts of the country where even accessing them is a problem. So this is your argument and pushing back against what is a commonsensical issue that we have raised. I mean, I simply can't understand. What are you worried of? What, I mean, is it going to take anything away?
I put that question to you.
Is it going to take anything away if we agree to include the voter's ID? And so if we have come to the realization that the current prescription put forward is not very conducive, and it certainly is not going to be as inclusive. And we are asking that we add the voters' ID card. I don't see why this should be a basis to cast aspersions and insinuations and even bring in party executives as though we are just a head of cattle sitting there, zombies who have to be nudged or slapped on the back of the head for us to function. I mean, how many times have we not reviewed? How many times have we not reviewed laws in Ghana? Right. You have been covering. You have been covering.
Yes, I'll put that question to you.
Politics, and you know the issue. Yeah, we have reviewed laws in Parliament. Even your own government. You have brought amendments severally.
So table an amendment.
Well, who says we are not going to do that? We have many options. The fact is that we have several options, and that is because we believe that the law certainly will support the fact that the voter's ID card, which is a primary form of identity, cannot be excluded in the gamut of identities needed to ensure that one obtains a Ghana card. Our argument is simple. Let's make the process more inclusive. And if that means that bringing on board the voter's ID card, let's do it. What is your problem?
Dr. Jinapo, so that's the argument from the two sides in the House. What is your view of this?
I think, first of all, just to sum up everything, I'll say it's a needless litigation. Needless in the sense that, you see, right, the point is this. The card that people or Ghanaians are going to be given should not be seen as a tool for the award of citizenship. No. I mean, I sitting here, I'm a Ghanaian by virtue of birth. And whether I have a card or not, it does not and should not take away my citizenship. This card is just a representation or an empirical manifestation of this is Dr. Jinapo, this is his biodata. So even if I don't have the card, it does not mean that I cease to be a Ghanaian. So that needs to be what? That needs to be understood. And if that is the case, I find it quite worrying. That's why I said it's a needless litigation. I would have thought that there needs to be a bipartisan agreement in terms of what means. We are looking at the means. It's not about the card. What means can we use to capture as many Ghanaians as possible? There's no way that you can capture every Ghanaian using any. What is the most appropriate means that will be able to capture as many Ghanaians as possible? The vehicle upon which people are going to be captured as it stands now, the four of us probably do qualify. I have a passport, he has a passport, you have a passport, you have a passport. But look at the other side. Ask this cameraman, just do a random sampling and find out how many people fit into this mechanism. So if I hear people say that, look, let's look at how we can broaden what? The means of capturing people. I don't have a problem with that. But we must also be careful not to abuse it. You get a point? If you want to capture a lot of people, you must also be careful not to put, not to open it such that what? It becomes a subject of what? Abuse. Where a lot of people, as he made reference to Amakofibua, where a lot of people in the border or whatever get into the, and you see, the irony here is that, right, sometimes when I listen to politicians, they cease to amaze me. I hear people talking about what? Abu Ramadan. Do you know what Abu Ramadan was? Abu Ramadan had to do with what? NHIS card. And you remember those times, the way NDC opposed that thing. NDC was strongly in support of what? Everybody using NHIS card. If you remember, Abu Ramadan, that Abu Ramadan we are talking about, he's not he's dead though. He's the deputy coordinator for what? NADMO.
Today.
Let me finish. Don't. Let me finish. Right. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Let me finish. The NDC opposed it so much that look, everybody, the NHS, they are going to. Let me finish, please. Let me make my point. All you guys were talking, you know, I just kept quiet. But today, Abu Ramadan is not the celebrated Messiah of what?
Authority is likely to be closed down.
You get the point. On this particular issue, the reverse is also what?
Authority has been in the used in the past few weeks over lack of funds to support its operations. Though government has made assurances that the situation will improve, it is yet to materialize. The Chief Executive Officer of the authority, Dr. Akwesiose, hints of a possible return to cash and carry by June ending if the situation does not improve.
And she's supposed to
the mental health situation in terms of finances is there. Now there in the sense that
it's possible.
We are already in the middle of the year, and you've not had any financial releases
and that is what I'm saying. That
the mental health authorities have been supported all along
the means through which we are
by a donor partner, and the support by the donor partner is coming to an end at the end of June. And if it happens that way, and you're not getting support from the ministry, it means you'll be forced to shut down because you can't operate without funding.
And I think
we cannot even keep our lights on. We cannot even get our cleaners to clean the place. You will be forced to shut down. On the part of the psychiatric hospitals, they will also not be able to admit patients in their case, not so much because of the donor funding being cut. Well, not cut exactly, but the donor funding coming to an end. By the sense that they are also not getting the support, the releases from the ministry. And they are actually running out of funds. They are only being supported by benevolent organizations and philanthropists and suppliers. And that is what we can. And that is where. So if they don't have any funds, then it means they'll be forced either to return to cash and carry.
Remember the Abu Ramadan issue. The Abu Ramadan, when
you had Dr. Akwesiose, he is the Chief Executive Officer of the Mental Health Authority.
Right? But the voters register that we have now is what they are saying that we should what? Transport it into what do they call it? Into the national ID. So what happened to the argument that was made then? If today the voters' ID as it stands now is so valid and representative of the total population, then what were we talking about? And that is why I'm saying that we need to have what? A constructive dialogue, devoid of any kind of what? Personal interest. But for me, as it stands now, this particular issue or this particular mechanism can be quite problematic, because if I'm not captured and really I'm a Ghanaian and I'm not given a card, we should be prepared to what? To get a lot of people going to court, because you cannot deprive them of their citizenship.
We have Stranek already in court and others. But Honorable Mesa, let me put this question to you. If we agreed after the Abu Ramadan ruling that the voter ID card has now become a unique representation of who a Ghanaian is, what is the problem, or why are we not using it to get people onto this kind of card?
When did we come to that realization?
Oh, I thought the ruling said that once we have deleted names of those who use NHIS to register, and we have also reissue new cards.
You missed the point.
What is the point that I
missed? You missed the point.
Right.
You see, you are not bound to vote. There's no compulsion. It's a voluntary act.
Right.
And so we are not essentially improving the voter's ID card. No.
But wouldn't we
that's not the exercise.
Wouldn't we fault the Constitution if we don't get you the opportunity to vote as a people? Assuming we put impediments in your way so that you're unable to register.
How does the compilation of the national database,
the Ghana card,
yes, place an impediment on anybody's route to
we're told that one of its mandate is to be used as a card to get onto the national voter roll. So if we don't get it, it means that you can't get onto the voter roll.
You see, the point is this. This is not an event. And Doc, you see, the mass registration, okay, it's not going to close the window after it's concluded. The NIA offices are going to be open all year round for anybody who doesn't have the opportunity to register during the mass registration period to go and obtain a card at any time. It's a permanent office that is being set up, that any child who is born tomorrow would be issued a card, whether the mass registration is completed or not. In any event, if you look at the provisions of the law, clearly there's ample opportunity in there for people who do not have passports and birth certificates
who necessarily, you mentioned your grandmother.
What is the problem with the voter ID card?
You see, I don't know what the problem with the voter ID card is, but the law says, and we all agree that it is entirely possible
for it to be used.
People have voters ID card who may not necessarily be Ghanaians.
I don't
have a problem.
It's the same with passport and birth certificate.
So what are we doing now? We're trying to build a better system. That's why the law says that even if you have those documents, the officers would interview you to ascertain whether indeed the documents that you have presented are legitimate or not. So we are trying to build a much more credible system that we can all vouch for. You say no. Include everything else that is in existence.
It's not everything
else.
else.
But that's exactly what you are saying. But voters ID card. So, and if you don't include a voters ID card, you will be disenfranchising some people. How about the NHIS card? Would it not be disenfranchising some people as well?
The court has ruled that it is
absolutely. And so the framers of this bill that went into the consensus building that Doc made reference to in Parliament agreed that to enable us build a credible system, let us limit the identification to these two and then leave room for people who do not have these two identifications for their family members to vouch for their nationality or citizenship by way of oath, so that if it turns out that tomorrow we find out that the oath that you deposed to was in fact erroneous or was intended to defraud, we can hold you accountable. It is all intended to build a credible system that we can all vouch for. What is the problem?
Before I go to Dr. Park, I hope you're not suggesting that laws made by Parliament cannot be re-looked at.
Let him table an amendment.
Okay, so you're saying it can be re-looked at.
Let them bring it up.
The process.
Completely.
Okay. Dr. Park, so this is argument. He's suggesting that if the minority has a problem, well, there's no need to boycott, table an amendment and then get it done.
Well, Brian, first of all, he doesn't have to tell us what to do. Okay. We decide the course of action that we seek to deploy. We have decided to boycott, and we are doing that. He has his Ghana card. I have chosen not to take my Ghana card, right? We have also put in the public domain what we think we are going to do. That doesn't mean that we are restricted to those options. Of course, leadership is still discussing the options. But I think the important point must be made that we are only asking that because this is a national program of immense importance, it is important that we widen the window of opportunity and make it easier for more Ghanaians to be part of it. That is why we are speaking about inclusivity. And that's why we feel that excluding the voter's ID card and highlighting only the passport and the birth certificate,
and then of course
as the primary, yes, but that is secondary.
And
that is captured under B. That is captured under B. I know, but the problem is that we don't want to discourage people. We don't want to do anything that would discourage people from being on the Ghana card. And look, it has consequences. We shouldn't take it for granted. If you listen to the narrative, you even read, the act and the law, the card is going to become a primary means of accessing services. And we shouldn't take that for granted. So why wouldn't we want as many Ghanaians to have access to this card if we know that by including the voter's ID card, this is going to allow many more Ghanaians to participate? The idea is to reduce the obstacles, to allow for more people to be part of it. And I don't see why my good friend, Honorable Mercer here, seems to be throwing tantrums
but there are no obstacles.
about what we believe is commonsensical. Yes, we may have been blindsided by not thinking about this, but if we have become aware that excluding the ID card, the voter's ID card, is not going to be allowing for a more inclusive process, there's no reason why we shouldn't raise that issue. And we shouldn't be shy. We shouldn't be shy about stating it. I mean, only a fool does not change his of a mind if you become aware of new conditions, new circumstances.
Let me give Dr. Jinapo the last word on this. And
that warrant a change in the course of action. And That's exactly what we are doing.
Doc.
Right. I think entrenched positions by both sides of the political aisle will not solve this problem. And I go back to the proposal that I made. I think we need to have a bipartisan consensus and look at the way forward. If you remember very well, when we're doing the 2016 election, during the biometric registration of the voters' ID, you remember the position of the MPP. I mean, the MPP was one of the most vociferous advocates of making sure that people were registered biometrically. And I don't know of you, but if you go to a bank like Commercial Bank and you happen to more or less give your name and even date of birth, they are able to generate your biodata with your picture represented in the voter's ID on the screen. The point that I'm trying to make here is that even though we've had problems in terms of our registration of Ghanaians, I think we are making improvement. And I would say by far from 1992 till now, the 2016 registration of voters, Ghanaians through the voters' ID was one of the best. That notwithstanding, as my brother Mesa says, voting is voluntary. And in fact, there are some people who are Ghanaians today who are adults who probably do not have the voters' ID.
And they've never voted either.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to, I would really wish that if it's even possible, if we are using the voters' ID as an addition to all this, all you need to do is to transfer your biodata. I don't have to go and raise it because they already have my data, they have my picture. All they need is what? Is to transfer it. But as I said, look, we also have to be very careful for the system not to be abused. But I hope.
Will the voter roll be an abuse?
Oh, the voter, you know very well that there are people, as we said, even passports. There are people who are here who have passports and stuff. But you see, the bottom line is that if I'm a Ghanaian and I happen not to have a Ghana card, that should not deprive me of my citizenship. And beyond that, even though this program is not a one-time activity, by the psyche, orientation, and behavior of Ghanaians, if after 1 year I don't have a card, even when they start, you can see the mad rush. So, generally speaking, Ghanaians would think that, look, we need to have this thing now. And that is why I think even the NIA haven't done that much of education in terms of this whole program. I mean, people don't even understand and appreciate much when it comes to this. So let's see how it shapes up. But if the minority wants to go to court, I don't have a problem with that.
The first group is already in
But
court,
I would have wished that this thing is structured out of court.
You keep making all kinds of accusations. Who is hiding behind it? Nobody's hiding anywhere.
I hope Honorable Mesa is not saying
is
that
somebody hiding in somebody's pocket.
Is
somebody hiding in somebody's pocket? He's talking about hiding. Is somebody hiding in somebody's pocket?
Old Vandals, I'm grateful. We have to end our conversation here this morning.
You see, when you bring a bunch of Commonwealth boys, you can expect the time to elapse without you knowing.
All right, and Dr. Ahmed Jinapor is a lecturer at University of Education and Old Vandal. Dr. Clement Apak, a member of Parliament for Busa South, and Old Vandal. Honorable Andre Japamesa, Member of Parliament for Second Year, and Old Vandal too.
Wow.
Grateful for your time.
Unique.
Stay with us. There's more after this.
Welcome back. You're still here on TV3 Newday, and I'm being joined in studio by people from Compassion International Ghana. They're going to be telling us exactly what they do and what they have planned for the 15th and 16th of June this year. I'm joined by Mrs. Florence Senamponsa. She is the Senior Manager for Program Support. Also, Gifty Danswa Apia, National Director for Compassion International Ghana, and the PR in the person of Dr. Isaac Tando. Good morning, gentlemen and ladies.
Good morning.
So let's start off with Compassion International Ghana. People are wanting to know, what do you do and what do you seek to establish in Ghana?
Thank you very much. So Compassion International Ghana is a Christian child advocacy organization. And our mission is to release children from poverty in Jesus' name. And we do this through partnership with a local church, where we work with the local church to undertake holistic child development, Christian child development for the children, one child at a time. And we do this in 4 major areas, in the area of socio-emotional, cognitive, physical, and spiritual. We believe that these areas are very crucial when it comes to the development of the child.
Nice.
Yes, Compassion has been in Ghana for since 2004, and we have been programming since 2006. and 6.
Nice, okay. So you said to release them in the name of Jesus. I'm just wondering, because when you're releasing children from poverty, it sort of ties in with their parents as well. Yes. If their parents are not liberated, it becomes a bit difficult. So how do you involve the parents as you try to help develop the child as well?
Okay, so thank you. Compassion's programming is a holistic one. Okay. We believe that every child needs to be known, loved, and protected by the adults around them. And that includes the caregivers or the parents. So there is a program that looks at caregiver empowerment, where sensitization, education, those who maybe livelihood skills, empowerment for those who need it. So it's a holistic program. Right. So we touch the life of the child, and then we minister to the parents, the adults as well, which we call caregivers, so that they can better look after their children.
Okay, but Dr. Tando, tell us some of the activities that actually take place, because I'm sure people out there listening are wondering, what exactly will you do to a child to help release them from poverty? So just touch on a few things that you do in these holistic programs.
Definitely, like my two compatriots just say, or my manager just say, we are holistic child development, and we are making sure that we empower the child, we take care of the child holistically, spiritually, to make sure that he also contributes to the development of Africa. So if I should jump, we have put a number of things in place to make sure that the child is celebrated this time around. So on the 14th and on the 15th, like you did mention, on the 15th and the 16th, we are celebrating Ghanaian children. Okay. On the 15th, sorry, we are doing a symposium at the Academy of Arts and Sciences, just behind Golden Tulip. And we are saying that everybody come, let us celebrate the children, let us empower them. And we are touching on the 4 themes Madam Gifty talked about. We are flying all Professor Odro from Cape Coast, University of Cape Coast, to come and then make sure that he touch on the cognitive aspect, education of the child. How can we make sure that we empower the child to also contribute to the development of Africa? And we are also looking at the health and the spiritual. We have invited Dr. Joanne from Kuala Lumpur to come and speak about the health needs of the child, so that he could be empowered to contribute to the development of the child. And then we are also looking at the spiritual. So Reverend Maxwell is also coming to touch on the spiritual development of the child, making sure that the African child is prepared towards the development. And on the 16th, we are going to Winneba to celebrate. That's why we're going to have a day bar. Over 1,600 children come and eat, come and play, come and recite poems, come and contribute, come and exhibit that training that our programming has given them, so that it could also be able to contribute towards the overall goal of African development, and also releasing them from the poverty that they would have been in if compassion had not been around.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key interventions you put in place? Because I'm sure you're not the first NGO to be child-centered or looking out for children, but someone is just out wondering, what will make you different? What sets you apart as Compassion International Ghana?
Okay. So at Compassion, we have 3 distinctive areas. We are child-focused, and like you said, we may not be the only organization doing that. We are also Christian. Again, we may not be the only organization doing that, but we are church-based, and that sets us apart. We believe that the church is strategically positioned to be able to minister to the child holistically. We talked about those 4 areas, particularly the spiritual area. And we believe that the years of the child are very crucial in the development of these areas. And we are also looking, in terms of the holistic development that we spoke about, we are looking at one child at a time. Lady Sana mentioned that what we do with a child is to ensure that they have holistic development. And so we are looking at them one child at a time, make sure that they are known, they are loved, and they are well protected. And so these are the things that set us apart. Many organizations will go out there and they will look at all children en bloc. The children are not known. We don't know which particular children. They will be intervening, but we don't know which particular children. But in our case, the child is known and the child is followed. So we take a child. Now we even have programs that we call survival. So we start with maternal health. even before the child is born. We have programs, you know, targeting that. When the child is 1 year old, we move them to our sponsorship programming. And we are following this child until they are 22 years of age, you know, by which time they are maybe completing tertiary education or something like that. The whole idea is that this child will grow up to become a responsible, fulfilled adult, as our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ would like us to do.
Nice. Auntie Florence, let me come to you. Concerning the children, as of now, do you have statistics of how many children have passed through your program and maybe where they are as of now, and what the impact for you as Compassion International Ghana is to see them move from stage to stage and actually want to help others as well?
Okay. So currently, Compassion Ghana, we partner with 295 churches in 7 out of the 10 regions in Ghana. And together, these 295 churches are ministering close to 77,600 children. I mean, very close to 78,000 children in the programming. And all these children, they benefit from the 4 outcome areas Lady Gifty mentioned. I mean, the physical, the spiritual, the cognitive, and then the social-emotional. Currently, we have about 500 of the beneficiaries at various tertiary institutions, and a few have even completed. Nice. And some are also learning their vocational skills so that they can be set up. The impact is that for each child in the program, we have some who are orphans, some are HIV, some are malnourished. I mean, we go to the neediest of the needy. Wow. So for all such children, all their educational supplies, I mean, whatever they need, yes, is provided. It's not negotiable. All their medical supplies, their nutrition, physical well-being, all that they need to develop well, to be what God wants them to be, is catered for, and it's massive.
It is massive. Yeah. And finally, I'd like to take a word from Dr. Tando, telling us about the program, how we can access it. Is it free? And then are you providing any form of transport for people who want to go, and how do they get in touch with you?
Yes, definitely. Like Gifty said, it is holistic child development. It is Jesus Christ. It's about the child, so it is free.
Okay.
So we are inviting everybody, Tom and Harry, from all walks of life, come to the Academy of Arts and Sciences. Make sure you listen to renowned people, like I mentioned. Professor Joe is coming from UCC. We have Joanna also from Kwalibu, and then several other speakers who are going to speak. We're also going to have some entertainment. The children themselves that we have empowered, they're also going to display about some of the things that we've taught them, and then how they can also exhibit their talent.
What time is that?
So we are doing that at the symposium at 9 in the morning on the 15th. That is this Friday. It's a holiday, but I encourage everybody to come because the life of the child is very important. So on the 15th, they should come to Academy of Health and Science at the behind Golden Tulip. And on the 16th, we are celebrating the children. We are providing a bus because we are going to Winneba. Right. We are doing it at the University of Education Winneba, their conference hall, their largest conference hall. And we are inviting. There is food, there is music, there is creativity, and there's also a lot of prayer because compassion is about Christ. Compassion is about Jesus, and compassion is about releasing children from poverty. In Jesus' name.
Indeed, and on that note, I was joined by Florence Sena Amponsa, Senior Manager for Program Support, and also Gifty Danswa Apia, she's the National Coordinator, and finally Dr. Isaac Tando, the PR for Compassion International Ghana, and they're telling us they have a program 15th and 16th. Let's all join, because indeed children matter to all of us, and the little you can do will go a long way to help each child, and at least it would be nice to identify a child whom you have helped become very useful in society. So reach out to Compassion International Ghana and offer a helping hand. On this note, we'll take a break. We'll be back with more here. Please.
Welcome back. Happy birthday to you, Ni Annie of the Grace Chapel, and also to you, Mrs. Estelle Okindness, from your husband, Reverend Gillian Okind. Also to you, Ko-Sami, a long-standing viewer and listener of 3FM 92.7. You are in Nima. If it's your birthday today as well, happy birthday. But today we're wrapping up the fast, and so we'll come to Nima and Mammo B and check out what's happening there, how we'll mark the day and get ready for tomorrow. But today also is the World Blood Donor Day. I'm being joined by the PRO of the National Blood Service, my own brother, Mr. Stephen Adaiban. Steve, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Johnny. Thanks for having me.
You abandoned me and looked for me only around these times. Also, the beautiful Jennifer Hansen. She's the head of the Donor Care Blood Service. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Everything okay with you?
Fine.
How are we marking the day today, Steve-O?
Thank you very much, and good morning to our viewers. World Blood Donor Day is a day set aside by the World Health Organization to thank all voluntary blood donors and to acknowledge their very big contribution to voluntary blood donation to the blood services, world over. And so the big day is being celebrated at Greece as we speak now. The main day is going to be commemorated in Greece. But locally, we're also having our own commemoration event here. It's happening at the National Blood Service headquarters, where the event starts at 12:30. We're going to have a deba to acknowledge our voluntary blood donors and to say a very big thank you to them for their life-saving gift of blood to mankind. We know blood is very essential, and without blood, people who need blood to survive will die. And so for people to devote their time and their energy to voluntarily, donate blood, we think that it's a good service to the nation, and they need to be commended for that.
I see. Interesting. Jennifer, let me come to you. So there have been a couple of issues. I'm sure today we're talking Blood Donor Day, but the issues are numerous. For example, somebody has their red card, but before we get into those details, let's talk about the process. For example, if I want to donate blood, how do I go about it?
Okay. First of all, I would like to say that blood donation is when an individual voluntarily decides that blood should be drawn out of him or her for the purposes of blood transfusion or biopharmaceutical purposes. And in doing this, a series of processes or steps are involved. For example, when a donor walks in, the first point of contact is the donor care unit, and a donor care staff who meets the donor, welcome the donor. Then there is a pre-donation information given. That is education to be given to the donor and about the processes involved in collection, which helps the donor to self-exclude. After the information given, we register the donor, we have a medical assessment done, and this helps us to declare donor fit or unfit to donate. So if donor is declared fit, we move on to the next process of venipuncture. That is where the blood is drawn out. And then after that, the last or the least process is post-donation care. That is the care given to the donor after donation. These are the steps involved in process.
Interesting. What would make you deny somebody the opportunity to donate, for example?
As much as an individual wants to donate, the health of the donor and the health of the patient is very important to us. So when you come in to donate and it happens that for a reason or the other, you cannot donate because donating may affect your health at that particular time, or when blood is drawn out because of an issue at stake could affect the one receiving the blood, we do counseling to make sure that you get a proper understanding of the reason why you can't donate. And where need be, we give a referral so that you can seek further management from the appropriate quarters.
So at some point within this process, do you agree with the donors that, look, if you donate blood today and you need blood tomorrow, you will have it? Do you agree with them at some point?
Yes, during the pre-donation information or education, these are information in addition added or given to donors out there that when you donate as a voluntary donor, a card is given to you. That is what testifies that you are a voluntary donor, indicating the donations that you undertake. So if you need blood and you have no one at that point to have a donation done for you, you would have to report to the headquarters of the National Blood Service, where administrative work is undertaken.
Okay.
And based on your donations in the card, it is worked out for you, then blood is taken from the blood bank.
Steve, so if this is the agreement, how come we get reports from all over the country that, look, they gave me this card, they told me that I am entitled to it if I have a relative or myself, I'm in need of blood, I can get it, and I take my card and I don't get it. How come?
Well, it all depends on the availability of blood.
Okay.
That is why we keep, talking about consistent or continuous, blood donation or regular blood donation. So people need to understand that the blood that you donate today, it doesn't mean that the blood is sitting there, for a very long time. It has an expiry date. 35 days, the blood is expired. Okay. And so at a particular time when you come and then you are denied, or we tell you that there is no blood, it is genuine that the blood is not available. But then if the blood is available...
So I'm a regular donor. I've done this for 15, 20 times.
Yes.
And I do it just a month before then. How do you manage the pain and everything else that the people express at the time?
So the point is that the card you have, it guarantees you that opportunity. We must, get to the blood at all cost whenever the blood is available. That is why we're saying that instead of you bringing people to donate on your behalf, what we call the family replacement system, we make sure that we give you a waiver or a clearance form from our administrative office. Then you go to the lab, then that arrangement is done.
So how do you respond to the allegations that there are persons within your ranks who demand for money sometimes before blood is given out to people who need it? How do you respond to that?
Well, I think that we cannot deny that fact. It is a fact that there are people hanging around the blood banks. We call them commercial donors. They are in the system. We are aware of that. But the point is that we've advised the public that blood from those people, it is not safe for their own safety. It is not safe. The only safe blood we're talking about is the voluntary blood donation. So these people, because they are commercial donors, they don't mind about their health conditions. The law says that you need to donate blood every 4 months, right?
Yes.
But these people, because they are doing it for commercial purposes, they can donate blood today, donate blood tomorrow, which is not safe for they themselves, the donors, and then the patient who is receiving the blood. And so now the limitation is that we are unable to deal with such people in the system because we still don't have a backing law. But our bill is in Parliament.
You're calling for legislation for that.
Exactly.
Let's wrap up the conversation.
Passed, then we'll be able to...
With Jennifer. Jennifer, you may want to take a bite on this and let's look at the way forward. The unscrupulous people and those who are not unscrupulous, who are legitimate, yet they demand for money, and sometimes they see you are desperate, so they push you to the wall. How do you respond to that?
What I would tell everyone, all Ghanaians, is blood, one, is not manufactured, and if you will get blood, it has to come from a live human being. So one, I would encourage everyone to become a voluntary donor, so far as you are in the eligible age, that is between 17 to 60 years. And also encourage that those who do this as a business purpose, they should stop because their health is at stake. And when you do that, you may be getting the money, but the one to receive the blood is also very important. If it is not in that good state, maturity of red blood cells in the blood, it wouldn't even help solve the purpose of the blood. So they should also stop it. And then rather, instead of doing that, they should turn into voluntary donors and help stock our institutions with adequate blood.
I'm grateful for your time. Jennifer Hansing is the head of the Donor Care Blood Service. She's joined us here with my own brother, Stephen Adai Ban, who's the PR of the National Blood Service. Gentlemen and lady, I thank you very much for your time, and I wish you well. We're gathering at 12:30 at the National Blood Service headquarters to celebrate all voluntary donors who have been...
So everyone is invited.
Everyone is invited.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
we're
you
grateful.
also.
And you know that the road to Russia is set we're ready to delight you with all the sports action here on TV3. It doesn't happen anywhere else. But happy birthday to Ni Annie of the Grace Chapel, to you, Mrs. Estelle Okine of St. Albans Anglican Church. This is from your husband, Reverend Julian Okine. Also to you, Ko Sami in Nima. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. All the sports action is here right after the show. The sports crew will be here. Creme de la creme, superior historic analysis, unparalleled exposure to the World Cup as it comes up in Russia today. You can't miss it. We'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. And to our Muslim brothers, keep the fast clean. And as we lift the ban on noise making and drumming, let's keep Accra calm and peaceful. Good morning.